Language is what makes us humans. Because of language, we have, of course, communication, we have science, we have math, and so on. You need concentration and you need practice, of course, to be able to read and to write. Because that is why we need to go to school to learn how to read and how to write, but you don't need to have an education to learn to speak, because to be able to speak is something that I would say is innate in our organism. But we need concentration to be able to write and read, because from an evolutionary point, concentration was something that was useful. Because let's say that you were sleeping in a cave and you heard a noise, so if you ignore that noise because you pretend it was a leaf or a stick, something like that, it could be a lion and it could eat you and you would die. So not being able to concentrate was something useful. Now we don't live in cave, but our brain still have the wire, and that is why when we hear a noise, we look for the noise, because we still have that behavior. That being said, that is why we need to practice to be able to concentrate and to read, because concentration is a skill that you need to develop. So now I would say that we are not doing that because many people want to skim instead of reading, and people are losing concentration because of the internet and because of the technology. So do you think, of course, that would be a problem if we don't acknowledge that could be a major problem in the future?
Yes, because actually what you were describing is how we learn. How are we able to learn that or distinguish what is a leaf versus what is the sound of a predator? And now, what is the difference between events happening in Russia versus events happening in Puerto Rico? So, how do we learn? And one of the fundamental basic skills that we need is attention, which you were calling concentration. What is concentration? Is our brain being attentive and focused on objects, ideas, etc., etc. Why do we need attention? Because only by attending to the stimuli, we're able to get something out of it. Yes. We need to interact with our stimuli so that we can learn. But basically, that is what our brain constantly is seeking, different patterns that allow us to make sense of our environment. And now, unfortunately, we get lots of distractions. The brain is not born to not be distracted. As you said, there are many things that we need to get from the environment so that we avoid being eaten. Yes. And that, although we live in these very comfortable societies, our brain still does not distinguish that from survival. Our brain is one of the organs, is one of the mechanisms that we have. We have evolved not to die and to keep evolving. Natural intelligence. So obviously, learning becomes extremely important for our survival. Once again, society, the development of societies have allowed us to basically pursue more lofty ideas or ideals than rather than just survival. Right. Although there are some societies that have chosen just go for that. Modern societies allow us to basically pursue art, politics, economic growth as humans, and because of language, and I agree totally with you. Thanks to language, we have been able to form cohesive links between different actors in society. Right. So because of that, we have evolved religion, we have education, politics, we have everything that makes us the modern human. Because we can look at human as just a biological machine that needs survival, or we can look at humans as what we like to think of as. We are these moral entities
Yeah.
that are like navigating the universe to do something better than just survival.
Yeah.
And at the core of that is us being able to keep attention on the stimuli to learn patterns. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, many people are saying that the bad use that we are giving technology is basically not allowing us to learn the way we were learning.
Yeah.
It's giving us lots of advantages, but also is giving us some disadvantages at the moment of learning. Because I think that you also mentioned some distinction between knowledge and wisdom. There are certain connections that just by checking a YouTube video, it's not going to give you. But where does wisdom come from? Or where does actually knowledge comes from? From being able to tie together different pieces of information. Mm-hmm. What do we get through technology? What do we get when we opened our phones and we access YouTube or we access Instagram or any social platform? We get information. Yeah. Are we getting knowledge out of it? Is a list of procedures knowledge? Does knowing exactly everything that there is to know about the human body give us the knowledge that we need in order to save a person? Yeah. Give that information to a robot, the robot cannot do anything with it. Mm-hmm. Give that information to a human, the human can do a lot of things with it.
Yeah. There is, I read the book Consciousness by Chris Koch, and he argued about that. He said that to be able to duplicate something, that does not mean being. Like maybe a computer can imitate a Mozart piece of music, but that doesn't mean that the computer is feeling what Mozart really felt.